Birthdays are weird, aren't they? Every year, there's a certain day where everybody celebrates the day you were born. I just think they're weird, especially after age 25 or so. They just become so theoretical, so abstract. And as you get older and older, you move further and further away from your birth and closer to the day when you're going to leave this world. I know it's kind of a dark thought, but birthdays tend to be more about other people. But they can also be a time to reflect and tally up what you've done and what you want to do in your life. Let's talk about that today and do another reading. Welcome back to Sweet Infinity. My name is Kieran. Today I'll be reading from the Muse Tarot Deck by Chris Ann. How are you doing today? I would love it if you would leave me a hello in the comment box below. As well, if you don't mind subscribing if you haven't already done so. And if you are a returning viewer, welcome back. It's great to have you back here. Please do feel free to leave me a comment and do a thumbs up if you can. It helps to push the video to other people who may have similar interests as you, according to the algorithm here. Anywho, so let's do a reading from the Muse Tarot Deck. So August is my birth month, and depending on when you're watching it, I might be celebrating my birthday right now. So let's do a reading that has to do with your birth and the beginning of your life and what that might mean for you at this point in your life. 5 of Inspiration. Okay. Let's read from the booklet because this deck has some very unique interpretations for its suits. 5 of Inspiration. Rivalry challenges comparisonitis, a need to collaborate in fighting or trying to outdo one another, friendly competition. The muse looks down at the rivalry below, the pushing and the pulling, the comparisons, the not enough. Sometimes she sees competition that hurts, and sometimes she witnesses healthy and productive competition that motivates. She hopes to illuminate both the positive and negative effects that these challenges can have on your life. Find opportunities to work with others for the common good and engage in friendly competition that serves as a catalyst for your success. How do you compete in life? Do you lead with your ideas, your feelings, your charm, deep conversations? Distinguish the type of competition that makes you a brighter light from that which dampens your ability to shine. Use this muse's sacred mirrors to see the most important person you compete with is yourself. All the external competition in the world cannot demonstrate your innate worth. You are already deserving of your highest accolades and love. So 5 of Inspiration, which is basically the 5 of Wands, tends to be about rivalry, about competition. Maybe your beginnings in your life had to do something with feeling like you had to compete, feeling like you had to prove yourself. Maybe it was not always healthy. Maybe there was a lot of sibling rivalry, or you felt that you were not given a good hand in life. Maybe you compared yourself with others around you. Maybe you were raised in an environment where other people had a lot more than you had, and you felt inadequate or deprived compared to other people around you. That's possible. So how did you deal with that? How did you deal with that feeling? 6 of Inspiration. So I picked these random cards, but all of a sudden the card that came is the card that's right after 5 of Inspiration. So now we get the 6 of Wands. And the 6 of Wands is about putting on a show, putting on a production, theatrical production, or some kind of, being a star, right? Let's read about it. Victory and recognition, a homecoming, being seen, recognition for a job well done, being thanked, the spotlight. The 6 of Inspiration stands proudly in front of her starlights. She is graceful, unabashed, and elegant in the face of praise. She knows that she's given all her energy to this victory, and that during the long journey leading up to here, to this place of acknowledgement and praise, she has offered all her heart and dedication to the success. Triumphantly, she comes home to a beautiful celebration, and she has to show up now, bravely once more, to illuminate the way for others to do the same. She wants you to know that you can arrive at that same place. You must say yes to success when the moment arrives. So I think in this context of this reading, this is more about the way you dealt with that feeling of competition is by putting on a bigger show. And on some level, maybe that's part of your strategy, is to appear to be bigger than you are, to appear to be more confident than you feel, to always be sort of on, on camera in a way. There are people who just live their whole life like that. And to be honest, I find that very difficult, IRL, to always be on. But I also do love performance, and I've always been into performance. And I actually think if you have been through any kind of trauma, learning how to be a performer can actually be very helpful. If you have a kind of tendency to be somebody who always acts like you are a lot more together than you actually are, you might want to actually pursue acting as a hobby or even a career if you can. The reason is that it can help you because you're already used to doing that. You're already used to putting on a show and you're good at it. 3 of emotions. And 3 of emotions, 3 of cups. This is about having friendships. This is about having a community that is open-hearted. And this might be something you can get to once you are able to really tap into that part of you that needs to embrace that you like performance, that you like putting on a show, that you like being able to play different characters, play different roles, have fun, get applause for putting on this kind of performance. Theater. I personally love theater. Whatever bit of acting that I've done in my life, I've done some on stage, I've done some in front of a camera, I've done improv, and my favorite has been the stuff that's on stage or with a live audience. So improv and theater. 8 of voices. So here you might have felt at different times in your life that you were trapped and you were not able to really fully embrace your inner talent. It could be that this talent of yours, this ability to perform, was not really encouraged on some level. Maybe somebody, you looked up to, a parent or some family member or somebody, maybe a teacher or somebody, discouraged you from that. They didn't allow your natural talent to thrive. And on some level, you feel like you maybe missed out on it. Knight of voices. So then we come back to the Knight of Swords, right? So the Knight of Swords is more of a mission. It's more of like a purpose that you seem to have. And maybe you tried to put that talent to good use for a purpose. Oh, for a family. Okay, so 10 of Pentacles. So you kind of like don't even take this seriously unless you can make money, right? On some level, you feel like, well, acting or this kind of performance should only be something that's done as a career. And that's understandable. I mean, if you're lucky, if you have the right connections, if you are at the right place at the right time, some people do manage to make careers out of acting. And I don't think it's a bad idea if you can pursue that, if that's something you're into. Or any kind of performance, not necessarily acting. Like, for example, there's singing, there's stand-up comedy, there's all kinds of stuff. If you are into performance, and even if you're not, you might not know that you're actually good at it. Just because you might be shy doesn't mean you're bad at performance. In fact, a lot of performers are very shy outside of the performances. You might want to consider that. It can be a real confidence booster. You might be thinking that you have to kind of do it for a purpose or for money, and that's the only time that it's a valid thing to do. However, so you're shy. So there's this Hierophant, and then on some level, you kind of like feel on some level that you can't break through the system. The Hierophant represents the authority figures, the sort of cult leaders, for lack of a better term, some kind of authority figures who kind of are gatekeepers, right? They act like gatekeepers. And on some level, you might feel that whatever it is, your talent can't really be expressed because you're being held back, right? So in the past, somebody might have stifled you, but now a lot of it is your own restrictions that you're putting on yourself. Knight of Inspiration. And yet you have a part of you that really wants to take off and just go and, pursue it. Of course, it's like, well, with acting, you need to be part of something, right? You need to be part of a troupe or some kind of theater. However, nowadays, the wonderful thing is the Hanged Muse. That. So change your perspective. There are lots of people who are just acting on TikTok, who are doing different roles and just writing out a script or just performing in front of a camera and then editing it together. Or you can even play one side pause the video, switch sides, record it from the other side, and answer yourself, right? So you can play 2 different characters in front of the camera. I'm just saying nowadays you don't need as much. Of course, it's not the same thing as being on a stage or whatever, but you can get started that way. And who knows, maybe eventually you'll get some kind of recognition. And yeah, you have to kind of let go of this whole edifice in your mind of that things can only be done in one way. On some level, it's really important. Now, this whole thing started with about birthdays. And I personally believe that once you're an adult, birthdays tend to be, they can be kind of sad. They can be reflective. They can be whatever they can be. But for a lot of people, they're really just about celebrating who you are for other people, right? But I find that birthdays for me are also about letting go of whatever I needed to learn in the past year. So every birthday, I tend to write down what it is that I need to let go of. The Tower is about things that are just done and you need to let them go. So if you see this character, she's sort of on this one rock and she's surviving this great ending, which is the Tower, but she's doing it by changing her perspective. The Hanged Muse is about letting go and letting God, if you want to call it that, being surrendering to whatever needs to be. And on some level, I think you have kind of overthought it a lot and you have allowed yourself to be restricted in the way. You have internalized the restrictions that were placed upon you once upon a time. And you don't need to do that. You can let them go. You can let all those restrictions fall apart, fall away. Because you are only as restricted as you let yourself be. The Priestess is about trusting your inner intuition, trusting your inner self, trusting the ability of your mind to tell you what you need, instead of always looking for answers from outside. The Priestess looks to herself, she looks to the moon, the 7 of Materials. This is about gratitude, this is about evaluating where you're at. So while the Priestess is intuitive, this part, the 7 of Materials, the 7 of Pentacles, she's very analytical. And you have both sides of you. You have the intuitive side of you and the analytical side of you. And you can just let these things go and trust yourself that these parts of you that are intuitive and that are analytical can work together in harmony. And once they do, you're going to be unstoppable. Whether you pursue your talent as just a hobby, which I don't think is just a hobby. I think it's very important for anyone to have any kind of creative, artistic, expressive modality to lean into that and to make sure that you cultivate that. And however you express it, whatever you do, you could be arranging flowers, you could be writing stories, you could be doing poetry readings, you could be doing TikTok videos where you're playing different characters, whatever it is. Life is short and you have different aspects of you and you can make them work together. They want to work together. You've got a great team here. If you notice, we had a nice 3 of Emotions, 3 of Cups. This is your team, your inner team, right? Different aspects of you, different parts of you that are intuitive, that are rational, that are talented, that are competitive. Even competition itself can be a positive thing. You can compete with yourself. Oh, how many times can you do this? Something you were able to do last time. Like when you work out or go to the gym, you should sometimes challenge yourself and compete with yourself and see if you can up the stakes a little bit or up your goals a little bit, right? Combining all that, you will find that you are able to cherish your moments, and every year, whether your birthday already passed or is coming up, use that time to reflect on what you have accomplished or achieved. And I don't mean just like in a capitalist career kind of way. I mean just in your inner self. Are you happy with yourself? What is it that you would like to change? How would you like to be different by your next birthday? Ask yourself that and make a plan. Decide, this year I'm going to do this. I try to give myself physical goals for health and stuff like that, as well as psychological or mental goals, spiritual goals, in order to try to be a better version of myself with each revolution around the sun. I hope that this was useful, analytical, and intuitive. I hope that you find ways to make all different parts of you work together, be friends with each other, play with each other, and grow together. come back and watch some of my other videos. Check out the description. There's a link to the deck as well as to my Patreon, where you can read my stories, where I am also inspired by tarot as well as other things in the world, where I write fiction stories and share other things. I'd love to hear from you. Leave me a message and a thumbs up. Thanks again. Take care of yourself, take care of each other, and have a sweet infinity.